Welcome to the Theory Corner. We are about to indulge in the single biggest debate in the entire Silo fandom, and it is a question that every single viewer asks the moment Juliette Nichols walks over the ridge in the Season 1 finale. Is the air outside actually safe? Is the Earth healed, and is a toxic wasteland just a massive lie told by the founders to keep everyone trapped underground? For years, a massive portion of the audience has believed that the outside world is actually a lush, green paradise, and that the only thing killing the cleaners is poison being pumped directly into their suits. But as we move deeper into the show, and especially with the massive geopolitical flashbacks introduced in Season 3, we finally have enough mechanical and historical evidence to answer this question definitively. And the answer is no. The outside world is absolutely 100% not safe. It is a highly toxic, lethal environment. But the reason it is toxic is the ultimate trick of the entire series. The outside world is not just a naturally ruined post-apocalyptic Earth. It is an active, heavily engineered execution zone. To understand why the air is genuinely deadly, we have to throw away the emotional reactions and look strictly at the cold, hard mechanics the show has given us. And the most undeniable piece of evidence is the heat tape. Let us look at the basic physics of the hazard suits and the act of cleaning. If the outside world was actually a safe, breathable environment and the wasteland was simply a hologram projected onto the visors, then the quality of the heat tape sealing the suits would not matter at all. Think about Allison and Holston. When they went outside to clean, their IT-issued heat tape was specifically designed to fail after exactly 3 minutes of exposure. When those seals degraded, they did not just calmly pass out. They choked, they suffocated, and they died violently in the dirt. If the air outside was clean, a breach suit would not kill you. In fact, if the air was breathable and poison was being pumped in from the oxygen tank, a breach suit would actually save your life by letting fresh air in. But that is not what happens. The toxic element is coming from the outside in. The only reason Juliette survives her cleaning is because Martha Walker figured out the conspiracy and swapped the cheap IT tape for Mechanical's heavy-duty industrial sealant. That industrial tape successfully kept the outside air out of the suit. This proves without a shadow of a doubt that the atmosphere on the other side of the airlock is fundamentally hostile. The toxic air literally eats basic materials, rapidly dissolving substandard polymers until it breaches the suit and attacks the human respiratory system. But if the air is that corrosive, where did it come from? To answer that, we have to look at the massive lore drops from the Before Times timeline in Season 3. Fans have rightfully pointed out the bizarre black cloud that Charlotte flies into at 50,000 feet. In those flashbacks, we learn that this was not a simple lab accident or a test gone wrong. The United States had suffered a dirty bomb attack, and Charlotte was flying an F-35 in a retaliatory strike against Iran. This was an active global conflict involving advanced weaponry. When Charlotte's jet hits that black cloud, her cockpit is coated in a viscous, oily residue that causes her instruments to fail and gives her a severe, traumatic brain injury, necessitating the memory-wiping protocols. Many viewers assumed this was a weaponized nanobot swarm, but as we saw when Juliette's visor dropped the green illusion, the outside air today does not look like a swirling black cloud of sci-fi robots. It just looks like a dead, gray wasteland. So how do we reconcile the black goo from the past with the invisible toxic air of the present? We have to factor in time. Charlotte hit that weaponized cloud centuries ago during the active deployment of the Doomsday weapons. Hundreds of years later, a biological agent or a corrosive nanotech swarm would not still be hovering in giant black storm clouds. It would have settled. The weapon is likely dormant in the topsoil. It is the very dust that blows around the craters of the silos. When the massive airlock doors open and violently blow pressurized air out into the world, it kicks up this invisible, highly corrosive weaponized dust. That dust immediately coats the cleaner and goes to work eating through the hazard suit. The air might look clear to the naked eye, but the biosphere has been fundamentally sterilized by the residue of a war that ended centuries ago. But this brings us to the biggest counter-argument in the fandom. If the world is a dead, toxic wasteland and the air will literally melt your suit, why on earth would the founders go through the trouble of projecting a lush, beautiful green paradise into the helmets of the cleaners? The answer is psychological crowd control. Imagine you're a citizen of the silo. You've been condemned to death. You're terrified, angry, and feeling completely betrayed by the system. The airlock opens and you step outside. If you immediately saw a horrific gray wasteland and felt the acidic air begin to burn the seals of your suit, your survival instincts would completely take over. You would panic. You might turn around and try to break the airlock door. You might wildly smash the external cameras in a fit of rage, blinding the silo. Or you might sprint as fast as you can over the ridge, completely out of frame, desperately looking for help. The founders can't have that. They need the cleaners to die predictably, peacefully, and right in front of the camera lens for the entire population of the silo to see. The green virtual reality world is a pacifier. It's a psychological trap. By dropping a perfectly rendered, color-graded green paradise over their field of vision, the system overwhelms the cleaner with a beautiful lie. The cleaner believes they have discovered a massive conspiracy. They believe the silo is lying to the people inside, and they suddenly feel a desperate urge to clean the camera lens to show their loved ones the beautiful truth. The illusion keeps them mesmerized. They stand perfectly still on their designated mark, peacefully wiping the lens with wool, entirely distracted by the fake birds and the fake blue sky. They're so consumed by the illusion that they don't realize the corrosive air is actively eating through their suit. By the time they feel the poison in their lungs, it's too late. The pacifier works perfectly. They die on their marks exactly where IT framed a shot, reinforcing the fear of the outside world for the 10,000 people watching on the cafeteria screens. This leads us to the ultimate terrifying conclusion about the outside world. When Juliette finally crests the hill and the camera pans out, we see a massive, uniform grid of dozens of other silo craters stretching out into the distance. This layout reveals the true sinister nature of the toxic air. The founders didn't just build these silos to wait out a global apocalypse, they engineered the apocalypse to enforce containment. The toxic air is highly localized. It's an artificial chemical moat. The founders likely saturated the atmosphere directly above this specific grid of bunkers with that heavy, lingering weaponized agent. The greatest threat to the silo experiment is not the toxic air, it's cross-contamination between the silos. If the air was completely safe, a rebel in Silo 18 could simply put on a suit, walk over the hill, knock on the door of Silo 17, and start sharing notes. They could coordinate a massive multi-silo rebellion that the algorithm could never contain. To prevent this, the founders weaponized the atmosphere right above the craters. It's an invisible electric fence. The IT heat tape is mathematically calculated to fail after 3 minutes of exposure, ensuring that a cleaner dies right at the edge of the crater. The toxic air guarantees that anyone who leaves a silo dies long before they can ever reach the next bunker. So, is the air outside safe? Absolutely not. But Juliette is not just walking through a dead planet. She's walking through a multi-generational minefield, an engineered execution zone designed by Daniel Keene and the founders to ensure that the silos remain permanently isolated in the dark.